Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I can't tell you how excited I am about our next guest. It's Dr. Adam Rubinstein, who is a board-certified and award-winning plastic surgeon. In fact, he's the chief of plastic surgery and vice chief of the Department of Surgery for Jackson North Medical Center in Miami, Florida. He specializes in whole-body surgical and non-surgical cosmetic treatments for both men and women. And I love having a plastic surgeon on our radio. So good morning, Dr. Rubinstein.
Hi, good morning.
I am so happy that you took the time to do this for this morning because you have so many things to cover. We're not going to be able to manage it all in a half an hour. We'll have to do this again. But I know that you really want to talk about something that's extremely important. So I'm going to let you just go.
Well, I think the reason that we're here today is because of the bill that was recently passed by the Florida State Senate and the House. It changes the way the state has authority to regulate centers. Everyone who is in Florida, actually nationwide, people are hearing about all the deaths, unfortunately, that we've had in South Florida from people who come down to have cosmetic surgery and unfortunately never get to go home. They're just absolute tragedies that happen. And the state has regulated it to some extent, but has felt a little handcuffed. Because a lot of the clinics that operate on these patients, well, some of the doctors are not actually plastic surgeons. That's a problem. You can't imagine how common that is. And sometimes the state doesn't have the regulatory teeth to really get into the problem and fix it. The clinics skirt around the rules or under the rules and are, to a great extent, they're outside the regulation by the state. That doesn't happen anymore, or won't happen anymore, because a new bill was passed. It was sponsored by State Senator Flores and Representative Anthony Rodriguez, who co-sponsors the bill, and it passed unanimously in the House. It passed through the Senate. It's sitting on the governor's desk waiting to be signed, and when it's signed, I think as of next year, all these clinics are going to have to register. They're going to have to be regulated by the state, and there's real accountability. So sometimes we've seen patient deaths in the same clinic year after year, and that is not going to happen more than likely with this bill in place.
So, Dr. Rubinstein, is it because people are looking for cheap and they don't look at credentials? Why is this happening?
Well, it's funny. I always tell people everything in this business is caveat emptor, buyer beware. Problem is that the emptors don't know how to caveat. The buyers don't know where to look.
Right.
It's easy to say, hey, check it out, make sure you know what's going on, but it's not so easy to actually do if you don't know where to look. And I think that is the problem. That people are unaware about. A lot of people don't even know they don't have a plastic surgeon that's taking care of them. You go to a lot of these clinics, you see someone in a white coat or a nice suit, and it's a plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery clinic. And they figure, oh, well, this person has to be a plastic surgeon. Well, no, they don't. And frequently they're not.
Well, one thing about you, I'm so proud that you stuck your neck out so far because you're one doctor who's not afraid to speak, while other doctors, of course, are afraid. We know about that because you're afraid of being sued. But you've taken this on, haven't you? You said, wait a minute. I, as a physician, I'm a very, very good plastic surgeon with great credentials, but for those of you who aren't, I'm not going to let you hurt patients.
Well, we've had a problem in this business with people. There's two issues. Some people are afraid to stand up for fear of litigation. They don't want to be sued by saying something about somebody else. And then other people, they just don't want to get involved. And listen, I'm just going to keep my head down, do my work, let them worry about them. But then the problem just keeps going on. If no one says that the emperor's not wearing clothes and the emperor gets to run around naked and, we can't stop him. So that's not the way I am. I see that this is a problem. I see non-plastic surgeons doing things. I see clinics not following rules, not really being safe for people to use. And I'm not going to stand by and watch it. There has to be some sort of accountability. Someone has to stand up and tell the truth. And really, that's all this is. It's just telling the truth. I'm not doing anything revolutionary. I'm just letting people know, hey, this is the truth. This doctor is not a plastic surgeon. This doctor has no training in this, but they're doing it anyway. This clinic has had a shocking number of deaths over a short period of time. And just know that that's the case. If you're going to choose to go there, know what you're choosing.
So, Dr. Rubenstein, is this actually happening only in South Florida or all across the country?
Well, yeah, it happens all across the country to some extent, but South Florida really has become a hotbed for destination surgery because the prices are cheaper. And people come down to South Florida where they might pay 2, 3, 4 times the price where they live. They come to South Florida, even with the cost of travel. The prices in some of these clinics are so low that it's worth it. They come, and that's what the allure is. No one's coming here because Dr. Jones in clinic XYZ is such a terrific surgeon that they're willing to come across the country to go see him or her. They're coming because of price, and that's the big motivator here. You look at the clinics that have gotten into trouble, that have had issues with patient deaths and other serious complications. A lot of times, and more often than not, actually, it's a clinic that charges a fraction of what most board-certified plastic surgeons doing these kind of procedures are going to charge. And it just stands to reason, whatever you're getting, whether it's surgery, whether it's clothing, whether it's a meal, no one expects to get the same kind of meal if they go into a McDonald's and pay, $5 to $10 than they would expect going into a Michelin star restaurant and paying $100.
Yeah, but we're also talking about life and death. We're not talking about just having an upset stomach one night.
That's right. But, I will tell you this. People will spend more time worrying about where they're going to get their hair cut or colored than they will sometimes about cosmetic surgery.
Can't believe that. I mean, they're only going to do this once probably in their life or a few times. Why not? I mean, I travel. I have a great cosmetic dentist. I live up in Boynton Beach. And I go down to Plantation, which is near Miami, because he's so fantastic. And I've been going to him, and people say, why do you drive? Because I'm only going to have my teeth done every once in a while. I want the best.
Yeah, well, and that's a good reason to travel. And you're not, hopping on a plane and going across country to have it done.
Well, but let me just talk about you. I am really amazed that here you are in such, you have such great credentials, and that you have time now to take on those kind of people, those doctors or whomever they are, that are fooling the public. It is really very sad, and I'm glad that you were helping to get the politics out of it and get some good rules and laws passed. But let's talk about you a little bit. I did notice something, and I have to ask you, it sounded so interesting that you are able to do something. I underlined this, that you're able to do some work without surgery. Let me just say what I see here. You do non-invasive procedures such as the elevate facial rejuvenation. It's a simple non-invasive medical procedure that enhances the jawline, neck, and lower facial area by pushing back the skin and surrounding neck tissue. How can you do that without invasive procedure?
Well, the push in plastic surgery now is to try and do as much as you can without actually having to go under full anesthesia and go under the knife, so to speak. Doing little procedures, things that are non-invasive or minimally invasive, that can give you nice results, that maybe stave off a larger procedure for a little bit longer. Or if you don't need a larger procedure, but you still want to have some improvement, this is the way to do it. The Elevate is really terrific. And, I'm in New Orleans right now. I'm actually traveling out of Florida because there's a big conference, the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery. And, I'm very involved in the organization, the Aesthetic Society. Every year I come to these meetings, and I'm always looking for new technology, new procedures, things that I think can help my patients get nice results without having to go to an operating room, or if they have to go to an operating room, maybe give them even better results, just refining technique. And in the case of Elevate, that allows me to do something that I couldn't do without the procedure. We'll see people come to the office, and sometimes it's a little early, or aging is really not an age, a time-defined thing. Aging is really genetic. There are people that are 40 or 50 years old and look much older, and then there are people that are 70 and they look 40. And that's just the grace of God. That's just the way that they're aging. But when you have some aging and you're not happy with the way it looks at any age, then you got to make a choice on how you're going to improve things. And when it comes to Elevate is a simple, minimally invasive procedure. It's not non-invasive. I do have to poke the skin. I got to put stuff underneath the skin. But it's done under local anesthesia, and it's the ideal treatment for someone who's got a little bit of sagging in the neck, a little bit of excess fat, but doesn't want to or maybe doesn't really need a full facelift or neck lift. And we do it under local anesthesia. You can drive yourself to and from the office. There's 3 tiny incisions about the size of a grain of rice. There's one under the chin, there's one behind each ear, and then a couple of pokes across the neck. And what it does is it removes the excess fat from under the chin, and we place a suture, a stitch, that goes from one ear around the neck to the other side, and it creates a better angle. It tightens the neck, lifts some of the sagging skin and tissue, and makes that sharper angle from your chin to your neck. It has an incredible improvement, and a real simple procedure. Takes about an hour and a half to do, and you drive yourself home. Amazing.
Well, I'm so happy to have met you. This is lovely, and actually for everyone, Dr. Rubenstein will be on YouTube, and you will see he's one of the most attractive young men. I don't know how old you are, or you've worked on your own face, but you look good. So you're a good advertisement for what you do. But let's just go back to what you are doing. And I know that this has been very hard for you to be outspoken. You are an outspoken advocate, and I guess that they're after you, aren't they? They don't like you.
Well, when sometimes the truth is not complimentary, but it's still the truth.
Right.
And, if you stand up and say something about someone that they don't like, they might fight back, or they might lash back at you. But at the end of the day, as long as you're just saying truthful things, then you're safe. I think what you're talking about is, there's a number of things you could be talking about, because I'm really active. There's a number of things that I do. You mentioned YouTube. Actually, in YouTube, we've got videos that I've produced telling the truth about people. And in Instagram, I regularly post about doctors that maybe aren't telling everybody the full truth. Maybe sometimes they're being deceptive. And I'll produce videos that will tell the story and just tell exactly what the truth is. And people have threatened to sue me over things that are in my blogs, in my Instagram posts, and YouTube, Facebook. And I've been threatened by, I got to count it up now, 3 or 4 different doctors.
Oh, my.
Because they don't like it. As a matter of fact, I got a call. There is a doctor. Let me back up. I started doing this because nobody wanted to tell the truth. I said, I'm not afraid to tell the truth. I'm not afraid to put it out there because I think it's important. People know. So I started by making these videos. In my Instagram, which is I have 2 different Instagram channels. One is @PlasticSurgeryTruths. @PlasticSurgeryTruths is an Instagram page where all the posts are videos. And most of them are Q&A videos. We just answer questions people send to me. Some of them are, we have a special series called Exposed, which is, that's the series where if someone writes to me and says, hey, what do you know about Dr. Smith or Dr. Jones? Well, I'll go look at Dr. Smith and Jones and see what their story is. And sometimes the story is perfectly fine. You say, well, Dr. Jones is a board-certified plastic surgeon. You'll be in good hands. Don't worry. And, keep looking into it. I don't think you have anything to be concerned about. And sometimes it's not that easy. And sometimes, I'll say, hey, Dr. Smith is an emergency room doctor that doesn't have any surgical training and is doing liposuction without being trained in plastic surgery. And Dr. Smith also has a death a year ago, or has been disciplined by the state medical board. You only figure these things out if you know where to look, and most people don't know where to look. Sometimes when I see something that's really egregious, that's when I make an exposed series. So I started making these exposed series talking about the things that I think the public needs to know about some of the doctors that I get asked about. Because I don't go targeting anybody. People will write to me and ask, what do you know about this doctor or that doctor? And when I see that the answer to that question is really shocking, well, I think people need to know. So I put it out there so it's saved for posterity, and people can find it and watch it and then know the truth.
It's amazing that you take the time. You're such a busy person, but I admire you. Oh, that's wonderful. Let me tell everyone, if you want to go on Dr. Rubenstein's website, though, it's RUBINSTEIN.com, right?
Yeah, it's DR as in doctor,
right.
dash, like a hyphen.
Oh, I see. There's a hat. Okay, yeah. I didn't see that. So it's dr-rubenstein.com.
Right,
yeah.
And Rubenstein is RUBINSTEIN.
Great.
On the website, we have my blogs. I write every now and then. I'll do the same thing, and I'll write blogs about issues that are coming up. I mean, we write other things too, about all kinds of things having to do with beauty and aesthetics. But I have written many blogs about situations that I think need to be shown the light of day.
So you decided to go into medicine, but you really wanted to be a journalist, didn't you?
Well, I actually hosted a radio show for 3 or 4 years.
You did?
And, I like being able to get the word out, and the show actually was all about different topics in aesthetics. We talked about, I spoke to industry leaders around the world. And it's really, again, it's just about us getting good information out so that people can make good choices. That's what it's about. And, sometimes you suffer for that.
Yeah, but that's great. So did you grow up in Miami?
I grew up in New York, actually.
Oh, okay. And you came down here. But I wanted to go into something that you said. When someone goes to a person that is not really a bona fide plastic surgeon or is a poor plastic surgeon or whatever is happening, I don't mean poor in money, but just not doing the job, what are they doing that causes deaths and causes such terrible things to happen? What happens?
Well, it's hard to say. There's a couple of issues. One is, we talked about discount clinics and, the McDonald's versus a Michelin star restaurant type of thing. When you're paying $100 for that meal, you expect to get a really fine meal. When you're paying $10 for a meal, okay, but you assume that you're going to get fed and it's going to be safe, and that's going to be the case. When you're talking about surgery, there's a lot more on the line. And if you're, for example, let me give you an example. There's a procedure that takes fat from certain parts of the body, usually from the tummy, around the waistline and the love handles. It removes the fat from there, and then it uses the fat to plump up other areas, usually the butt, because there's a big trend now to have a more shapely butt, thanks to Kim Kardashian and Jennifer Lopez and other celebrities like that. So it's become very popular, and people have been coming to Miami for a long time. Miami is one of the hotbeds for that type of procedure. Well, to go to a board-certified plastic surgeon is going to cost you $9,000, $10,000 or more. You could pay as much as $15,000 to have it done by a really qualified and experienced surgeon who is board-certified in plastic surgery. If you go to some of the clinics that have had issues, most recently there's a clinic that had a death. I mean, we scheduled this interview before this happened, but just a week ago, there was another death of a woman who went to have this procedure done, this fat transfer to the butt done, and she died. And there's two issues that I think are important. One is when you're let me just explain. I mentioned it's $9,000 to $10,000, as much as $15,000 for a board-certified doctor in their own practice. The average pricing that you can expect to pay in a clinic that's owned and operated by a doctor that is board-certified in plastic surgery. The clinic that I just mentioned that had the death recently, they're advertising a price of $3,500 total cost. And I can tell you, it costs most of that to do the operation properly and safely, is to pay for anesthesia, for your supplies, for the staffing that it takes to do a procedure that takes 2 to 3 hours to get done. It's not inexpensive to do what we do and to do it safely. So you have to really, I think people should be asking themselves, how can I pay $10,000 in one place and $3,500 in another, and how can that be the same? But, people are driven by price. I don't blame people for looking for, to get a break. I frequently say, if you look for a bargain, sometimes you get more than you bargain for. And I'll bet that the family of the woman that passed away so tragically a week ago wished she'd have made a choice that maybe cost her 2 or 3 times that price, and maybe things might have gone better. I believe that when you're charging little prices, you have to do a lot more surgery to make a living, and you have to move fast. You have to operate a lot more and quickly to get more cases done in a short period of time. Something's got to give. You can't do the same thing the same way in the same period of time with the same quality at a much, much cheaper price. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it. I mean, everyone wants to be competitive, but it costs a lot of money to do these things right. And if you're paying a cheap price, my opinion is something's got to give. There's got to be corners getting cut one way or another, and maybe that corner is just working too fast. And I can't say. I mean, no one knows exactly where things went awry in that particular case. But there is one thing that I can say, that with these fat transfer procedures, the way that fat is injected into the butt is very, very important. The technique that's used is very important because it's been studied. There have been numerous deaths of patients now over the years, and it's been studied by the Aesthetic Society and other plastic surgery societies very carefully because we're all interested in making sure people are safe. And what we found is that the technique that is used for the injections seems to be the determining factor. You got to keep the fat in a superficial area, just under the skin, above the muscles. And where it seems to get into trouble is putting the fat into muscles. And the crazy thing is that there have been people that thought that that's the right way to do it, that that's the best way because it somehow has an advantage of making the fat last longer. You inject into the muscle, you're also injecting around these big veins, and if you get fat to, you tear a vein a little bit, you inject a little bit of fat into the vein, that's how people can die.
I see. This is good. This is why it's very important that you're talking about this. It's not just saying that they're not doing a good job, just why. And this certainly does bring it to people's attention. So for you to go to someone who isn't experienced and has not, does not have the credentials, you can see how dangerous it is. I mean, Dr. Rubinstein is certainly, is it Rubinstein or Rubinstein? What am I saying right?
I say Steen, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, Robert Rubinstein. But Dr. Rubinstein is so experienced in this, and it's great that he is explaining this to us. So please, any of you who are considering any kind of plastic surgery, whether it is the, for rejuvenation or for other kinds of things, please do contact Dr. Rubinstein because he's so kind. Apparently, he'll tell you if you think you should. First of all, you should go there for a consultation, and then, depending on what you want to do, but just go to his website, which is dr-rubinstein.com. Or you can go to his blogs, or you can go on YouTube. I mean, I'm just so impressed with this gentleman who is in the field of medicine, but who, of course, loves to write, but he also cares about people. And you're a very busy guy. I mean, apparently in your the statue that you have there at Jackson North Medical Center is pretty important. So you keep busy, and of course you're going to conferences all over. And I don't even know how old you are. You sound young. You've been doing this a long time?
I'm 16 years in practice.
You don't? Oh my goodness! You look and say, well, you must have had a lot of work done on your face. You look great.
No, well,
are you just a natural beauty?
As long as I can get it. What's that?
A natural.
What was the question I missed?
I said you must be a natural beauty. What do you get this? Do you have good genes? Not good,
I must with everything you're telling me. I must. But I think that, there are lots of good doctors out there. That's something I want to kind of get out there. And there, you know, I think I'm a pretty good plastic surgeon, and I'd be happy to take care of anyone that comes to see me. It's, you know, one of the things I love doing. But I'm not the best surgeon for everybody, and I think it's important to go see a few surgeons if you're considering having a procedure done, even if it's not surgery. Go see a plastic surgeon that can help you either surgically or non-surgically if you're looking to improve something about yourself. But do your homework. Make sure you know his or her credentials. You know, look up, are they board certified in plastic surgery? It's not enough to say board certified. A lot of the doctors that I call out are board certified. They're just not board certified in plastic surgery. I called out someone who was board certified in obstetrics and gynecology, who was doing lots of cosmetic surgery in
You're
New York.
kidding.
In fact, I worked. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
I worked with Inside Edition. We did Inside Edition and I collaborated, and we did an undercover sting on this doctor, and discovered just crazy things that were happening in his clinic. And subsequently, he was already under investigation. The state of New York, subsequent to our doing that piece, they revoked his license. And, you know, you can make change. Change can happen. And sometimes I put myself out there and I suffer for it. You know, I mentioned I've been threatened with lawsuits, and I'm actually currently being sued for having, you know, in my opinion, for telling the truth in my blogs. I'm being sued right now for libel from a local clinic in South Florida who doesn't like what I've written. But what I've written is the truth. And, you know, I will defend myself to the end. I'm not so concerned about it because I feel that I've only told the truth and exposed, you know, what people need to know.
Well, we're going to have you back again. We're just running out of time. I'm hoping you're enjoying something in New Orleans, and we do appreciate you so much. I look forward to meeting you, and thank you for taking the time and getting us on the right road. For anyone interested in seeing a plastic surgeon, first talk to Dr. Rubenstein. He'll tell you if if he's the one for you or someone else. It's been a great show. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me on. If anyone has questions, they can go to the website you mentioned. They can call the office at 305-792-7575. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rubenstein. Talk to you again. Bye.